very much for the introduction. As Andre indicated, you have the misfortune of having me as your program director this evening. So there's good and there's bad news. The good news is that I come out of the pharmaceutical sector, okay, and we are discussing matters of the economy. And I thought I'll mention this before I introduce our guest, but coming out of my sector, I often marvel at the economists, and seeing that we are discussing matters of the economy here this evening, all these economists, and I'm sure there are many in the room, spend countless hours debating about fiscal policy and monetary policy and this and the rand's going to do that, and the economy is going to grow by 2.2% and all the rest of it. Now, why I'm telling you the story, because our main guest of honor, like myself, is a pharmacist. Okay. Now, if you ask Minister Pravin Gordhan and myself, what is the economy doing today? I don't have to call in all these analysts and economists and all the rest. All I do is I look at my sales at Aspen. Okay. If my sales of antidepressants are up, okay, then I know the economy is on a downward trajectory. We have a negative GDP. Okay. If, on the other hand, my sales of that little blue tablet are up. Okay. So if my Viagra sales are up, I know the economy is on an upward trajectory. So the minister and I don't need all these fancy analysts and economists. Ladies and gentlemen, on a more serious note, allow me firstly to introduce some of our guests. The Honourable Minister, Public Enterprise, Minister Pravin Gordhan. Welcome, Minister. Good evening. Seated next to the Minister is our Honourable Premier of the province, the second biggest economy in our country, and also the most populous province, Premier Sihle Zikalala. Welcome. Okay, and then because they say the private sector has to show the lead on efficiency, I'm not going to spend too much more time introducing all the other dignitaries that are here this evening, other than to say we are graced by a number of MECs this evening, many captains of industry, many officials from many departments, and we even have, I believe, the Commissioner of Police for our province here, KZN. Okay, I say our province because Aspen Pharmacare is probably South Africa's most globalized company. However, it is headquartered in Durban. So isn't it fantastic that South Africa's most globalized company, a presence in over 60 markets, chose Durban and retains Durban as its headquarters? So, Premier, you must be doing something right if that's the case. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm acutely aware my role this evening is more a facilitatory one, but I thought that I should make, mainly because I've been asked to do so, I should make some opening remarks to guide the conversation. So this thing of there are no free dinners, never a truer word has been spoken. This is certainly not a free dinner. I've been instructed it is a working dinner this evening. Andre, am I right? So I want to get my fees at the end of tonight, Andre, so I'm going to make sure I follow your advice to the T. So let me set the scene. And what struck me, unfortunately, I couldn't attend the earlier session for very good reason. We were able to evacuate our students from the neighboring countries, neighboring to Ukraine, of course, and the first 10 arrived today. It was a really monumental occasion for our country, and it leads me into the conversation. What struck me this evening speaking to some of you is every person I spoke to indicated that this is about a collective public and private sector working together in the best interests of the province and the country. And that's the magic wand. I think we all know that no sector is bigger or better than the other, and no sector on its own can achieve the end goal that we all seek to achieve. It requires both sectors to be integrated and to work together. And I think this is what struck me about the audience here this evening. There's an equal mix or spread of private and public sector people. And now, this is not the first time the private and the public sector have got together, of course. So many of you have said, well, what is going to change this time around? What has been one of the biggest learnings from COVID over the last 25 months for me is, in fact, in the darkest hours in our country, how the private and the public sector got together. I experienced this firsthand because I headed up the health working group for business for South Africa. And the response to COVID was nothing short of remarkable. Even though we've only vaccinated just under 50% of our population, many global analysts, so I'm going to bring the analysts in on this occasion because it suits me, have said that in terms of administering a vaccine program, ours was amongst the most efficient globally. Now, why was that? Because we saw no difference between the private and the public sector. We had a meeting with the president. I still remember it was on the 14th of March 2020 at the Union Buildings. A number of cabinet ministers were present, including the late Jackson Mthembu. And on that occasion, we said we're going to put any differences aside. We are going to work together for the best interest of the nation. And what came out of that were three working streams: an economic recovery working stream, a labor stream, and a health stream. And I haven't seen that level of collaboration or cooperation between the private sector and the public sector ever. And I've been around for some time, over 3 decades, and I really say with great conviction, I haven't seen that level of cooperation previously. So we've got a platform from which we can build on. And Andre and you and your team, I think you're building on that platform, that foundation that has been laid. So I hear trust has been shattered, there's a lack of confidence, all these different things that we hear, right? Well, there's only one way to rebuild trust and confidence, and that is we have to deliver on our work. So we are a nation often that is criticized of speaking a lot and under-delivering. So we've got the best plans, the best policies, but when it comes to delivery, we often found wanting. Okay, now that's what some people are saying. Let's prove them wrong. We did so during the pandemic. South Africa was lauded for its medical excellence. First country to genomically sequence both the beta and the Omicron variant. That's little old South Africa. But on a global stage, we outperformed, we out-delivered. We ran the single biggest phase 3B implementation study in the world. The world benefited from the data that came out of South Africa. Many countries around the world, including the United States and United Kingdom, incidentally, set their treatment and vaccination protocols according to the data that we derived in our country. We had the second biggest study, Sesonke 2. We had the first company in the world, if you don't mind saying it was a company I work with, Aspen, that produced a vaccine in the Southern Hemisphere. And then, of course, let's never forget the very skillful negotiation of our president when he was the AU president and later on the African champion for COVID. I saw what happened in a global stage. We secured vaccines where many others failed, and we did so for the continent. So there are many, many positives that came out of this collaboration at the time. Now, I don't want to run into what the speakers are going to say. I just thought it was apt this evening. We are meeting in person after a very long time, that the best way to build trust and confidence is we've got to deliver on our collective actions. And I saw that over the last 25 months. It gives me a lot of hope, and I know it's given many of you in this room a lot of hope. So with those few words, thanks very much for allowing me to make these opening remarks, Andre, for allowing me to be your program director. And I would like to call up our first speaker this evening, MEC Ravi Pillay. MEC's got a very diversified portfolio. We look forward to your welcoming address and for you to build on how we're going to get this public-private partnership working with immense gusto in this province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I'm not sure if everyone knew what you were talking about when you were talking about the students. The number is actually bigger than 10 that you're working on, as I understand it. So we have the Program Director today who took the initiative to ensure that a large number of students who were stuck in Ukraine or in neighboring countries and obviously in danger, took the initiative to arrange for their safe passage back home to South Africa. And I think that's the kind of patriotic initiative that requires or deserves a huge round of applause. Let me recognize our keynote speaker, Mr. Gordon, our Premier Sihle Zikalala, Mr. O'Connor, Mr. Kumalo, Mr. Tembe. Who am I missing? Captains of industry, our Mayor Mqadi, Mayor of the Rain Konyeni Municipality, the host mayor. There are other mayors present, Mayor Tivola from Sunduzi Municipality, Mayor Begim Torlo of the Greater Kokstad Municipality. And let me just say something about him. Not often that I have a chance where I'm on the podium and he has to keep quiet and listen. But he's the mayor of a municipality that didn't suffer any damage during the unrest. And that's because of the leadership that he showed in uniting the entire community and defending the town against those who wanted to do wrong. And Stavros, I think he did in action what you are asking us to do. And that is what has built trust. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, Lieutenant General Mkonazi, I think Nigel Ward next to you, all of you are key role players. In fact, all of you in this room are key role players for the tasks that we have set upon ourselves. I'm not inclined to give long speeches, but I thought that this quotation from a world business leader might be appropriate for the occasion. And I quote, I think this is a guy who was a chairman of Siemens at some stage. And the quotation goes like this: polarization has created the age of disagreement, which threatens to derail progress to the world's sustainable development goals. We must come together to ensure the age of collaboration in which we can build a better world. And then he goes on to say, the concept of inflection points fascinates me. These are his words. The concept of inflection points fascinates me. Inflection points are moments in time when fundamentals are changing. They give us an opportunity to challenge our assumptions and find a new path to a better future. We're now at inflection points for the future of globalization, the future of climate action, and the future of digitization. As I've written before, this is a leadership moment without precedent. Quotation is a bit longer, but I'll pause there. I want to suggest that for us too, this is a leadership moment, not quite without precedent, but certainly since 1994, it's a critical crossroads for us. Today's program, I think everyone was quite enthused by the discussions that we've had, and I'm sure we're looking forward to the nitty-gritty discussions tomorrow. This area here in the 1990s was fraught with violence. My home is here in Port Shepstone. And Premier, I think at one point you would know, there was never a night where you would not be going out to pick up a dead body. The mayor is here from Gurima, the entire South Coast. Of course, it wasn't the only region, but probably one of 5 or 6 flashpoint regions in the province. But it took everyone to come together in what was called the Peace Accord. And in that peace accord, the liberation movement, government to be dragged to it, kicking and screaming, business came to the party on that occasion. In fact, here, our local peace committee was chaired by a representative from business. So the point I'm trying to make is that if we are at an inflection point, as the quotation suggests, it requires all of us to put our shoulders to the wheels, and I think business leadership has a very, very special role to play. And in fact, I'm posing, as the program director has done, posing that challenge to all of us. Of course, much has been said. We've been hit hard. Let's not put that under the table or under the carpet. The combination of the recession, the COVID-19, the July unrest, and we're crossing our fingers about Ukraine, hit us hard. But the word that keeps coming repeatedly forward is the resilience, our own resilience. And I think it's not just spin. It's not just spin. I deeply believe, and when we deal with our fellow South Africans, we can see that there is enough goodwill to overcome all the negativity that there might be. So let's join hands in this task. The Premier spoke about the economic recovery plan that we have as a national plan, but we as KwaZulu-Natal have developed our plan. We didn't do it alone. We have what is called the KwaZulu-Natal Economic Council, and on that council sits government, business, labor, and civil society. And it was together that we're beginning to develop the social compact a little bit before even the President started to speak to it to the extent that he has speak. And I want to appeal to everyone, and business in particular, to play your role actively in that economic council and making that social compact real. We've disaggregated our economy into 14 sectors. We said we're not going to have a spray and pray approach. We're going to have a targeted approach to each sector according to the requirements of that sector. But that too requires a lot of hard work behind the scenes in those work streams that we have set up. We're also saying that the social compact, as important as it is that it takes root and flourishes at the provincial level, it can only have meaningful impact if it starts getting decentralized to the district levels. eThekwini is getting there, Msunduzi is finding its way, but all the other districts have still some work to do. And I think once it can find roots at the district level, where we meet at a district level, at a local level, where the local political leadership is meeting with the local business leaders. After all, they live together. Why can't they find each other and tackle some of the burning challenges that we have? The Premier and government in general, we deal with constituencies that are largely made up of the unemployed, the poor, and those at the bottom end of the social strata. And we've got to try to create opportunities for them. And we may make mistakes from time to time, but we keep saying, guys, if we are to disaggregate the economy, it's roughly about 30% that's directly or indirectly in the hands of the state. 70% is in the hands of the private sector. And if you're going to create those job opportunities, then the critical mass is really going to come from the private sector, working together with government. Government in that 30% must make its fair contribution. So that's another challenge which I hope we will try to grapple with tomorrow. We won't conclude tomorrow, but to say in your value chain, how will we be creating those job opportunities across all levels and all levels of skills, but especially catering for the young people who are trying to get into the job market. You will just tap there if you think I'm taking too long. I want to provoke you with one more point, and that's the business forums, which we all talk about. We've been very categoric, and the Premier has been very specific, and the provincial government as a whole. If you want to behave like a mafia protection racket, that's criminal. Lieutenant General Mkhonazi will do his job. If you are saying that you want to get empowerment opportunities, you want to be part of an economy from which you think you've been excluded, then our policy framework says that it's our job to create opportunities for you. And it's in that context, it's part of my job to engage with some of them. And we've given them the same message, eye to eye, exactly the same message that I've given you now. So there's some of them say that, look, you are putting everybody in the same pot unfairly. There are many business groupings who genuinely want opportunities. And then there's a category who admit that they did wrong things in the past, but want to change. So we are engaging. And we even have a draft MOU where we expect them to commit to operating within the law and so on. But there's still, if they say there's a trust deficit on this side, I think there's still a trust deficit in that relationship that we're trying to build. But isolating those who are just clearly engaged only in criminal intent, who think they can get value without any effort. So that's something I think we need to grapple with as to how we deal with those genuine groupings who want genuine opportunity and outside the criminal ambit. In conclusion, I want to say that I think, again, in this room today are probably the leading lights of KZN. Some of us in government may be more mediocre and average, but the rest of you are definitely leading lights. And we'd like to work together to deal with these challenges that we have. We all strongly believe that KZN is a special place. It is a strategic province. Strategic because of its province, because of its people, because of its history, because of its geography. And we all have a responsibility to make it work, not just for the province, but for the country as a whole. Thank you for listening.
MEC Pillay, thanks very much for giving us your insights. If I had to take anything out of your address, it would be the word resilience. And there's no doubt that South Africans perform best when our backs are to the wall. Our backs are to the wall at the moment. And I have no doubt that resilience that we demonstrate will continue to shine through. But talking about resilience and no free dinners and all the other things I was speaking about earlier, someone has to fit the bill tonight, right? And when I said there are no free dinners, stepping forward was MTN. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our sponsor for this evening, who is sponsoring a free dinner for us. His name is Mr. Matthew Khumalo. Matthew, one of the best known Khumalos is Dr. Khumalo, right? I don't want to get into any football turf wars here in this province, certainly. But if you are as generous as Dr. Khumalo is, then I'm sure we are going to have a superb dinner this evening. So thanks very much. The gesture is much appreciated by everyone in this room. And more importantly, we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much.
I don't want to guarantee a free dinner. But I think Program Director has given us too much credit. I think Premier, we're really honored to be here. I think it's a job well done. I think the session we had today was by far a session where transparency was the order of the day. And there were so many reflective moments in that. But true to the day and the theme that's carrying on, I won't derail, I promise you I won't derail it, although there are attempts from the program director there. Collaboration is key to us. But if I may start, I just want to acknowledge formally, so I also don't get into trouble, program director. I think the Honorable Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Sihle Zikalala, Honorable Minister of Public Enterprise, Pravin Gordhan, and the MEC of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Mr. Ravi Pillay, my chairperson, but the co-chair of KZN Growth Coalition, Mr. Moses Tembe, and honored guests and ladies and gentlemen. We're really proud to be here as MTN, and I stand here today, honestly, as it's a pleasure to sponsor such an event. But for the purpose of today, I'll say collaborate in the spirit of partnership. And we also want to extend our heartfelt thanks to the Premier for allowing us to partner with you in this great moment of our democracy and history. Our presence here is very deliberate. It's a demonstration and a commitment of how MTN is willing to partner with the leadership of KZN, the business and the government as a whole, to grow the economy of the province. Honorable Premier, I want to remind you that MTN is a company that has been born out of South Africa's democracy. No matter where we go, Africa, Middle East, our roots remain deeply embedded in South Africa. So we're a proud product of the policymakers, the regulators that shape us, the shareholders that believe in us, the 35 million customers that support us, and our employees that work every single day to make things work and create connectivity in our country. As a proudly South African company, born of SA's democracy, it's essential for MTN to partner with like-minded shareholders to rebuild and restore the dignity of the KZN economy and the province and South Africa at large. Our strategy is on track to deliver that accelerated growth premium over the next 2 years. And I want to just commit today and reassure everybody here that MTN, we've committed and we've put forward a budget of 700 million towards network investment in the province. In the province, This is an addition of the 500 million that we spent last year in 2021. The 700 million will go towards a network upgrade and expansion of key infrastructure in the province, in particular focus where we're going to put further development in areas, in the rural areas, especially those under the Ngonyama Trust. Further millions are going to be channeled into the replacement of battery to ensure that we've got connectivities. As the MEC, Mr. Ravi Pillay, said, and when he highlighted about the forums, we are also victims of that, Premier. But we're not saying we're walking away. You know, we are reinvesting, we're working together with all stakeholders from the Chamber of Commerce. I'm very happy today we've got General Mkwanazi here. They are part of us. We're saying that we won't go. We'll make sure that connectivity is a key bone. So we have to continue making sure that availability is available. Through that investment, we aim to ensure local SMEs benefit as well in the value chain that we create. So then we ensure we create sustainable jobs. Creation of employment is key to us as well. Because we understand and we're clear in our vision that for long-term success of South Africa, it's based on the sustainable and accelerated job creation. And the best way to do this is by helping small business grow, both urban and in rural areas. However, let me see, we still face the problem of the issues in KZN, but we're very, very comforted by the commitment that the government has shown together with our other stakeholders that there is a plan, and we are ready to collaborate. We're willing to collaborate and will always collaborate. And I liked what you said. There are people that obviously are treating it as mafioso, quickly identified. Those that want genuine opportunities, our doors are open for that. And we're ready to work with the government to ensure that those opportunities are realized in a professional, dignified way, and more importantly, sustainable. Premier, as you're aware that last year we faced greatest challenge, unprecedented challenges in KZN. We had civil unrest. For our part, as MTN, as a corporate citizen of KwaZulu-Natal, we put forward a relief fund of 10 million that was targeting primarily the SMME businesses, the spazas in particular, those that were victims of the civil unrest. This support package, we distributed it to over 1,000 spazas. To 1,000 partners, we collaborated with the city, and I'm also proud to say we also collaborated with the Department of Economic Affairs, with MEC Ravi Pillay, and some of the initiatives they have as well, to make sure that these businesses, the small, medium enterprises businesses, recover from this. They are the most vulnerable, and in most cases, they're not insured. So we did our part, Premier, and we never, ever going to walk away from any challenges that come. So I want to give you that commitment as well. And in closing, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this opportunity to extend our gratitude to government for the many ways in which they're partnering with MTN in this province. And many of you will know, most recently as last year, National Treasury appointed MTN SA as an official service provider to government through its Mobile Connection Services Contract, RT15. Thanks to the scale of the government requirements, we've been able to develop industry-leading systems and innovative pricing and products that are basically well-placed to be able to create the efficiencies and ensure that there's proper savings for government while providing them with the best connectivity from the best BOSA network. All right? We appreciate the opportunity to serve the country, in particular the province of KZN, in this way. We also thank the various departments and the municipalities with whom we have already partnered with for their confidence and faith in us. And in closing, I want to thank you so much for the continued support, in particular to the collaboration that we saw from Growth Coalition. Job well done. Also take a special moment just to thank the Durban Chamber of Commerce that we work very, very closely with as well in making sure that business and government continue to collaborate. And yes, we are here and will always be here and will always support and will always collaborate. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Matthew, thanks very much for those very generous comments. MTN is in fact a stellar organization and one that I'm sure every one of us would be happy to partner with any time. Chairman Moses and Tembe, I'm sure that when Moses said that he doesn't consider this a sponsorship, but he considers it a collaboration, right? So I think he's welcome to collaborate every night of the week, because that will mean a free dinner every night of the week. So, but I think in all seriousness, colleagues, I think Matthew's portrayal or the way he framed the partnership really leaves us with a lot of food for thought, seeing that we're about to have our meal. And I think a consistent theme that has come through thus far is collaboration is what is going to take us to the next few levels, Matthew. So we're most appreciative for both your comments and also for making this evening possible. Now, talking about making things possible, let's turn to the gastronomical part of the agenda this evening. And of course, Minister, the private sector says government always creates red tape and administrative burden and all these things. So I'm going to prove the private sector wrong, because I'm going to create a bit of red tape here this evening. Now, you would have noticed there is a place for starters on the program, and unfortunately the starters have not been served yet. Okay, they're about to be served, but to cut the red tape, if you want to skip the starters and go straight to your main course, you're welcome to do that. So it's by your election. You can choose to go straight to the buffet. The buffet is positioned on the right at the end. And I think so that we've got some order in the proceedings, let's allow tables 1 to 3 to start first, and then I'll announce the remaining tables thereafter. So you can skip the starter if you want, or if you don't want to skip the starter, they'll serve it to you. Okay, table 1, you're up first. Thanks very much.